Well, hello everyone, and welcome back for another discussion. Today, today I think I wanted to talk a little bit about law and justice. It seemed like an interesting day. The Karen Reed trial is kicking off. I don't know if everybody else is a law nerd out there. I got into these First Amendment auditor videos a couple years ago, as well as some other like civil rights attorneys who do work for like civil rights and stuff. And a few years ago, I got interested in this, and then since then, I started following a lot of this other legal stuff in the news, and I guess I've developed this, sense of fear, I guess, about where the state of everything is. It's interesting because even a few years ago, we had signs that there was something going on with our rights. We've got this phenomenon out there. Have you heard about these First Amendment auditors? It's people that go out with cameras and they engage with cops. Now, some of them are assholes, and some of them are pretty decent about it. Anyway, they have all the understanding of what rights they do and don't have. Some of the auditors are more educated than others in such concepts, and so there's different styles, different mechanics, different understandings of how to deal with the rights. But at the end of the day, they prove time and time again that police don't really care about our rights. And the problem is that there's not really much recourse. I mean, barring like the police actually beating you, no, they don't call it injuries. Like they put you in jail for like 10 hours. That's not an injury. You can't sue for that. Like you can sue and you can pay hundreds of thousands in legal fees, and you can get like $5,000 because you were like falsely imprisoned for like 10 hours. And there's no mechanism by which to really fight in a fair way. So these police, they violate your rights, and there's nothing you can really do about it unless they violate it to a significant enough degree that you can make more than what it would cost to sue to get it. Because, and even then, like cops are given this qualified immunity crap. They're basically told that, you get to get away with stuff if you didn't know it was a right violation. And how many times do they get to use this excuse before we hit this clearly established bar? Like it's just a bullshit rule. I don't have a problem if we have a new interpretation of a new right. Like when we developed cameras, okay, look, the Constitution existed before there was cameras. We had to sort out where cameras fixed in there. Do I want cops arrested when cameras were first starting out? Do I want cops to be punished for not knowing how to deal with new technology? Nobody's passed any laws. They don't know whether or not it's legal. Nobody really knows whether that's legal. Fine. Qualified immunity should apply to cases like that. But I'm sorry. The next time a cop, like literally, if a cop does something, if you flip off a cop, there's probably a 70% chance that they're going to be given qualified immunity if they come after you, beat your ass, and pull you over and lock you in jail all weekend and beat you all weekend. They're going to say qualified immunity. He had a right to arrest you because he didn't know it was legal to flip off cops. He didn't know that was a protected right you have, even though the Supreme Court's ruled on this. And so then you've got to go and get appellate courts to like fucking overturn that so that you can even go forward in your lawsuit. It is absolutely ridiculous. And that's how you know we have no rights in this country. You are a prisoner now. You do not have rights. You do not have recourse. Think about Garcia, right? The gentleman who got deported without due process. He had a court order saying he couldn't be deported to El Salvador. They still sent him to an El Salvador prison. And now they're saying fuck off Supreme Court. Like this is going on today. And I find it interesting because these First Amendment auditors saw this coming years ago, and they started doing their auditing. They started fighting for rights. And whatever your opinion of First Amendment auditors, especially there are certain First Amendment auditors, I think they go and start shit on purpose. And I think that a lot of times some of them will actually break the law to get there. Now, I don't think I think there are plenty of good ones out there. Like there's a guy, Long Island Audit. Interesting guy. He's usually super polite. He's usually the most polite person in any room I've ever seen him in. He's literally always been the most polite person. And he gets arrested routinely for simply doing what the courts have ruled he's allowed to do. And he routinely gets arrested. He has won a number of civil rights lawsuits. And I guess he just makes his money on other things, YouTube and other things. And he funds the lawsuits with the money that he makes, because I don't think he's making money on the lawsuits, because he's suing, like he's getting arrested for, a few hours or a couple of days. They don't usually tend to beat him. They just don't let him film and whatnot. But mostly he's suing about the rights. I see him as a guy who's in it for the good fight. He's in it to say, hey, look, our rights are being infringed. And if we don't do something about this, our rights are sacrificed. And sacrificing our rights still means no rights, even if we chose to give it up because we wouldn't fight for them. And that's where we are. And that's the interesting thing, right? We've got people protesting around the country because they're seeing injustice. But the problem is are we complicit in this? Like, we can't just say that this is a government thing when we're voting in a felon ourselves. We've got a felon in the White House right now, and we did that. Whether you voted for it or not, we collectively did that. There's enough of us here that decided to vote for it and enough of us that didn't decide to vote against it, that it happened. And so we have a felon in the White House now. A lot of people argued he should be disqualified. Where is the rule of law when a guy can cite an insurrection and not be disqualified under the constitutional amendment saying that you can't incite an insurrection and then hold any office in this country? What happened to that? Like, the rule of law is like, it is crumbling before our eyes. We are watching tyranny rise. Like, we are like imagine, we all asked, how did 1930s Hitler come to power? How did that happen? This right here. We're still that stupid 100 fucking years later. We're still this stupid. We still did this to ourselves. But it's so much worse. So these are just the rights on the street, but it gets so much worse. Think of how courts are treating people this day and age. There might actually be corruption down in Atlanta. As much as I wanted to see Trump get prosecuted for all of his election crimes, that I'm not sure there isn't corruption down there. There was another trial down there, the Young Thug trial. It was a RICO case. There was some, 90 charges almost in the case. One fucking charge was convicted. 90 over like 2 years of court, like 6 defendants or something crazy like that. I don't remember the exact numbers. It's just a bunch of defendants, a bunch of charges, and one fucking charge stuck. And during that, the prosecution was having secret meetings with the witness on the stand in the judge's chambers without telling the defense. That is corrupt as shit. Imagine you're on trial for your life, and the prosecutor and the judge are harassing witnesses without you knowing about it. Is there fairness in that? What the fuck is going on there? That's the same office that was trying to prosecute Trump in Georgia. So that office actually may have had a corruption problem because they were doing corrupt things during the Young Thug trial. Like, that's pretty much like done deal. Like, that's crazy to me what happened there. And then there's Alec Baldwin, right? Like, the prosecutor just held evidence after evidence after evidence, just withholds so much evidence. Imagine Baldwin's convicted on a railroading without the evidence to defend himself if he's any other normal citizen like you and me. He has a public defender. He doesn't have $5 million a week to spend on fucking private eyes chasing down every little detail on the case, interviewing everybody 8, 10, 15 times, hours and hours and hours, hundreds of thousands of dollars in private investigator hours. That's how people like Baldwin expose the corruption. And you tell me, then there's the Karen Reed. I mentioned that retrial started today. That case is corrupt as shit. Every fucking cop in there destroyed their fucking phones. Like, what the fuck are you telling me? The only people whose phones didn't like get deleted in the court order were like Karen Reed's, and that's only because the cops took it on whatever flimsy ass evidence they think they have, whatever assumptions they think they make. But I'm telling you, they didn't investigate the house where the body was. Like, the Karen Reed case is so corrupt. I don't know if she did it or not. I don't know. Maybe there was drunken shenanigans that night. It sounded like the cop who died was into drunken shenanigans. Why isn't he isn't he just as culpable for his death? If two people are drunk and one of them gets in the car and driving, like, you're both complicit in what comes out of that. I don't understand why she's on fucking trial for it. And the fact that they're even trying to overcharge her into like intentionally having done it, fuck you. Maybe DUI death. You want to put her on trial for DUI death? I got no problem with that. At least the first time. We're at the second trial now. The jury was hung on the first time, and we're back here again. The jury wasn't going to convict last time. I doubt they're ever going to convict in this case. But what the hell is the deal with prosecutors hiding the ball? Like prosecutors are turning evidence literally like a week before the second trial in this case. I'm sorry, but if you have evidence that you haven't turned over in the first trial completed, I don't really care how the first trial completed. You didn't produce evidence for the trial. You didn't produce all the evidence you were owed. You owed the defense. That should just be, it's over. Double jeopardy should attach and this should be done. They withheld evidence. They got caught withholding evidence after the fucking trial was over. That would be enough to get a new trial in a lot of cases. And yet, they get to just corruptly hide everything. And if this trial doesn't go their way, are they going to come up with new evidence to try to fucking use too? Like, this is fucking crazy. And I bring all these up not to argue any individual case. It's the fact that every time we see a case rise to the public level, the prosecutor's corrupt as shit. Even in the fucking OJ trial, everything was fucking corrupt. We've never seen a public trial that wasn't fucking corrupt as shit. They're all fucking corrupt. Prosecutors are fucking corrupt. Judges fucking let anything go and fuck the defendants because, well, you're not going to get your innocence until proven guilty. Even Luigi, like his arrest was total bullshit. He wasn't Mirandized. They took a bunch of stuff and searched it without probable cause. That sounds like something somebody looking to plant evidence might do. Little less like somebody who really thinks they have their guy. If you really think you got your guy, aren't you going to cross your I's and dot your T's? Don't you, shouldn't cops know that the greatest thing ever is to make sure that you don't fuck up evidence collection because you're going to fucking lose in the fucking courtroom then? Well, see, that's the problem. Then what happens? The prosecutor just doesn't tell the defense about the bad behavior. And unless the defense is rich enough to fucking figure it out, well, you're just fucked. Because no matter what happens, you're only going to get the facts that are against you. That's all that's ever going to be seen in a courtroom. You think I'm wrong? Go out and not commit crimes and then see where you end up. Abrigo Garcia didn't do anything. He immigrated to this country completely legally. He did everything perfectly legally. He was in a completely legal status, and they sent him off. And anybody who thinks that that's okay, all I have to ask you is, didn't you also not do anything? Didn't you also just be a good, upright citizen who followed the laws and rules and played your role in life? What's to say you're not next? Are you really so delusional that you think everything going on around you has nothing to do with you? It can't happen to you. That's how Hitler got here. Everybody thought they were hating on the one group that they hated or blaming the group that they hated. And then that hate started falling on their doorstep. It started falling against them. Because the Jews weren't the only people put in concentration camps. There were other people that were put in there. And it was enemies of the state in a variety of forms. One of there's a constructed language that was starting to gain some popularity around the turn of the 19th century or the turn of the 20th century. And so in the early 1900s, Esperanto was rising as a language that was very easy to learn and had enough utility that people thought it would be useful in bridging the divide. And so they thought, the person who created it thought that this might be a language that could be taught to people in the UN, and it could be like an international language that could help bridge these cultures with a language that is simple, because it's a constructed language. It's a modern language. We know all of the stuff about language. And so all of the rules were put in at the beginning, rather than we've been speaking it for a few thousand years and then suddenly we're just going to start writing it down in dictionaries and stuff, right? And try to convert it into something more written and formal. Well, this is when it's formalized from the start, you control all the rules. You don't have things like silent letters. You don't have things like you don't really use C's, you use K's. If you want anyway, it's just a constructed language, and Hitler was throwing people into concentration camps simply for using this language because they didn't want language that could subvert the understanding of the government. We're having people the other thing that's going on today is there was a guy who was driven around for 10 hours so that nobody knew where he was, and they were trying to, I don't know, get identification documents or something. But what did the guy do wrong? Why were they holding him? If they had a reason to hold him, why didn't they just take him to jail, hold him, and wait until they got the identity? See, that's the problem, right? We don't have to give our papers until we've done something wrong. That's what the Gestapo does. Papers. I want to see your papers so that I know whether or not to judge you. I don't want to, I'm not looking to see if you're a bad person. It's your papers. It's your history. It's I want to see if the paperwork says you're a garbage person. That's what's going on right now. Is they're just checking papers to see if you're a garbage person, and then they're judging everything about what they do with you on that. And it's not new. And it's so widespread into so many things. And then on the other side, we have the people who it really looks like, they're committing crimes and people are coming at them with the law in a lawful way. And they get away with crimes, and then they go and say, well, see, it's the corruption of the system, pointing to like all the cases that I just pointed to. And so the people who actually have legitimate prosecutions against them are using this to weasel out of what they're doing. Like they're pointing out the corruption in the system. And so their corruption is a different kind of corruption because that's the defensive corruption rather than the prosecution corruption. So they're trying to hang their hat on the prosecutorial corruption, and then they get off, and then they end up in the presidency and the White House, and they pardon 1,700 fucking people who like attacked cops and stormed the Capitol and tried to overthrow our fucking country. Take that in for a second. You think there's law and justice in this country? You can get a pardon for overthrowing the country, apparently, if you do it for the right person. I'd imagine your ass gets a fucking death sentence if you do it for, like, I don't know, the wrong side. You should, honestly, isn't treason, isn't trying to overthrow the government, like, isn't that a death sentence anyway? And we're pardoning these people instead of, like, holding them accountable for what they did. I thought the government was actually pretty reasonable about that. They charged most of the people with just trespass. You went in somewhere you shouldn't have been. You were told to get out, and you didn't. And that's trespass. And that's what a lot of people got charged with. The people that assaulted cops and planned to actually overthrow and have records of plans to overthrow, they had gotten like 20-year sentences, some of them. And that seems reasonable for somebody who tried to overthrow the fucking government. And we're just, I guess we're good with that being pardoned when the fucking person sweeping the pen was part of the fucking crime, arguably. He was definitely charged with the events that related to that day. He had crimes that were charged that were on that. And so what, we decided that presidents can't be prosecuted. We do have a king now. We do have a dictator. We can't prosecute a sitting president. We can't prosecute a guy as he's coming in because what? Why? Didn't make any sense. And I bet you all of this, but the system's so fucking corrupt. The absolutely honest answer here is Trump has definitely broken the law, definitely violated Supreme Court order. Definitely a judge has already found probable cause of contempt. That is a direct criminal violation. He has already found this to be true. He just doesn't know who actually made the decision. So he's looking into that. But this administration is committing crimes. You know what the answer to that is? Impeachment. But you know what? That's never going to happen because we have a bunch of fucking idiots who are so far up the billionaires' asses that they're just going to fucking sit there and sniffing all that stink coming out their crack instead of actually doing something useful, like impeaching the president who's literally crashing the world's economy right now. He's threatening war with countries that are like some of the most peaceful countries in history. And we can't get together and go, okay, this guy's a fucking madman and we don't want him running our country. And justice is you can deal with this president above the law thing, or we're going to start impeaching you next. That's the answer. That's what we should be doing. Congress should be standing up and impeaching these fucking extremists on the court and impeaching this fucking wackadoodle in the White House. Like, there is no other answer. Anyway, I guess it just seems really important to me because how far are we going to let it go? How many of us are going to end up in concentration camps before we start taking this seriously? How many of us are going to end up there? Are we going to have to watch our world descend into another civil war, our country descend into another civil war over this again? Because I can't imagine. There's got to be a point where people are going to say, no, I'm not doing this anymore. You took away due process, so we took away nonviolence. Like, I see that coming. And what do you do with that? What do you do when you see the world coming to that? What do you do when you see how bad the things are and you feel like Chicken Little and everybody's just looking at you like you're insane when you're saying that there's some real problems out here? I just gave a whole bunch of tangible examples of the failing legal system in this country. Tangible systems. Cops can do what they want to you. You're punished one way or another and you can't recover. There's no fair recovery. Prosecutions are stacked against people. People are let out of prison on favors because they did crimes for the right mob boss. Like, it's crazy. And it just seems super unsustainable to me. I also don't know what to do about it. But it is wild to see that I grew up. I remember having the pride in this country, and America's the greatest country in the world, and we helped out everybody else in the world. We stood for the weak and downtrodden. We stood for the countries that didn't have the capacity to defend themselves against larger invaders like the Ukraine. We used to stand behind that kind of stuff. We used to stand for the little guy. We used to stand for the righteous cause. We used to put fairness and justice above all. We used to be appalled by vindictive prosecutions. We used to be appalled by bad police behavior. We used to trust police to take care of our community instead of being so terrified of them that I won't even like I've had people commit violence against me and I wouldn't call the cops because, well, whenever I have called the cops, they just start with accusing me of whatever it is I'm asking them to look into. Why would I sign up for that? They're not here to help. But that's the way it used to be. And I don't know what it takes to restore a world like that. I don't know why we lost that. I think a big part of it is the disconnection, the screen time, the lack of connecting with each other, the lack of being willing to accept each other's viewpoints, the dismissal of information that doesn't fit with our ideology. This is all starting to become a very real problem, and I can literally see that this is the kind of thing that could cause societal collapse. Like, I know that sounds dramatic, but what do you do when there's no law and order anymore? What do you do when everybody realizes there's no law and order? There's only being in it for yourself. There's no longer doing things within and outside of the law. Whatever you do, you might get arrested for because you're not being arrested on facts and due process and actual trials and proving the case. You're just being tried because somebody with enough authority decided to do something. And what do you think the people are going to do when they realize that there is no recourse? There is no way to win in court. There is no way to get your day in court. You're just going to be deported. You're going to be executed in the streets. You're going to be that. What do you think the people are going to do? We're going to have no choice. Every day is going to be a fight for life. And what's the power going to do then? Because we got the numbers. It'd be a big mistake for them to think that day won't come. We're not going to take this forever. We're going to stand up one day. And with the way we're yanking around the world economy, don't think that we're above the world stepping in and trying to do something. Don't think that the world isn't willing to get its hands dirty to fix like a really big threat to the world. The world has done plenty of things trying to deal with dictators of the world. It's not above the U.S. or even some other countries to try to assassinate foreign leaders. We've participated in that before because the instability that is caused by dictators. When they're fucking with the world, you got to look out for your own interests. And so I wouldn't be surprised. We've heard plots of foreign powers that are plotting different things against the current administration. I don't know what they're going to do. I know that there's plenty of protection. We've got the biggest military in the world. It's not like we're going to fucking take anything lying down, but doesn't mean that people aren't out there plotting and looking for the opening. But I don't even know if that's like, it doesn't really matter. Like you can take out the guy on top. It doesn't matter what Vance is going to step in. He's going to be any better. No, he's just going to do whatever the fucking puppeteers tell him to do too. Just like Trump. Trump's a little bitch. Vance is a little bitch. I don't know who the puppet masters are. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I just know that there's a whole bunch of people doing a whole bunch of shit that's all about the rich and powerful and has nothing to do with you and me. Anyway, I guess that's enough ranting about this. It's a depressing subject to sit here and watch that our world is literally crumbling. We're literally watching, this insanity rise. It literally seems like a new Hitler. Especially when the guy who's rising as the new Hitler has said Hitler has done some good things. I think that was Trump that said that. Somebody said it anyway. I know somebody said that Hitler has done some good things, which is like, okay, maybe, but he didn't do enough good to offset the millions he murdered. Just saying. And I don't care how good of a guy Trump is. He hasn't done enough to offset sending innocent people to fucking gulag, work camp, death camp places. There's no... When you're into that and you're standing by it, knowing you're wrong, you're not a good person. There's a point of redemption, and it just sickens me that he runs around and Christians will say that Trump's a good person. Have you read your book? Do you know anything about Trump? Trump doesn't do anything biblical. Anyway, Trump is not a Christian. What's going on is not a Christian concept. So if you're a Christian and you're behind all this, you really need to consider if you really believe what you believe, because I don't think you do. If you're supporting the creation of this much suffering, if you're supporting this much hatred, that's not Christianity. Christianity is love, peace, and happiness. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to the poor whatever you can. Give up your possessions and follow Jesus, and lead with a way of love for all, taking care of the downtrodden first. The Bible makes points of taking care of single mothers, the homeless, the poor, the disabled. The Bible makes a point that we should be taking care of all of those. And those are the people that Christians seem to hate the most. They're the ones that Christians want out of their sight. They don't want homeless people on the streets. Well, give them housing then. How about that? You've got fucking churches. You can fucking gold line your windows and like have fucking magnificent marble everywhere and gold studded, gold foiled everything. But you can't give a few bucks to a goddamn homeless shelter. Fuck you. You aren't principled. You aren't about Jesus. You just, no, that's just not, I don't know. I don't believe that there's a sincerity to Christianity anymore. Anybody who's supporting this, you're just a hypocrite. You're not a Christian. You're a joke of a person to me. Anyway, I guess there's only so much rambling we can do about the injustice and watching the country fall into tyranny. And I guess I'll leave it at that. So till next time, be well.